Fresh from retirement, Olivia Benjamin persuaded her 68-year-old husband Elias to a vacation in the beach town of Florida. She had been in Budapest all her life, with work tying her down. Olivia has a deep passion for adventure and yet lacks the time and financial means to pursue it. Now that she was retired and with no work to tend to, no child to nurture, and a huge gratuity paid to her account, she believed the timing was perfect. So in the summer of 1963, which coincides with their 30th wedding anniversary, Olivia and Elias informed their only daughter about the vacation to the U.S. Maria, their daughter, was married and had a family of her own, so she entrusted the care of her mother to her dad. She helped them pack their luggage and even escorted them to the airport as they boarded the Florida-bound flight. When they arrived in Florida, they checked into their earlier booked hotel and applied for a vacation guide named Avila. With the guide, Olivia planned how to spend their next 2-week vacation. They first visited an amusement park, where Avila erected a number balloon at the entrance, indicating their year of being together, and a cake was presented to them. They spent the day having a lot of fun. Still, Olivia knows the next day would be very interesting, as the next thing on their schedule is a tour of the beach. Olivia has been living all of her life in the landlocked country of Hungary without any chance to explore a good natural beach. Now presented with the opportunity, she knew she had to seize it and make the most of it. They set out to Cocoa Beach the next day without stopping for breakfast at the hotel. She had in her jotter a list of things she wanted to do at the beach. Having breakfast at an open cafe overlooking the serene beach was part of it. Cocoa Beach was renowned for its calm and consistent waves. That, combined with the water having enough shallow and clean parts, makes it an ideal spot to spend all day. And Olivia is planning to spend it all, as she did at the amusement park. After having breakfast and a cup of hot cappuccino to keep her awake, Olivia held Elias's hand and walked the beach barefoot with Avila taking pictures. Elias first protested against this, but Olivia remained adamant till he gave in. They walked the breadth of the beach facing the water, feeling the white sand as it caressed their feet. The waves even blew at them when walking the shoreline, with Avila capturing everything. While walking gently toward the guide, Olivia said she needed to save everything to show their daughter and friends back in Budapest. Olivia convinced Elias to make a promise that they would visit the beach on every vacation. Elias wasn't against the opinion, as he longed to witness the pure joy and radiant smile that adorned his wife's face whenever she immersed herself in her favorite beach activities. After walking back to beach chairs, they informed Avila about the next thing, which was renting out a boat and sailing on the Atlantic. Avila excused himself after helping them to rent a boat propelled by a small engine. He sensed that it was a romantic boat ride. Elias and Olivia entered the boat and began their journey toward the deep part of scenic wide water. Olivia has longed for this kind of ride, as it provides a way of reconnecting with their love life while enjoying the beauty of nature. The water allowed them to relax and enjoy each other's company. While on the water, Elias reaches for his bag and brings out their wedding album. They shared throwbacks while giggling loudly. Elias knew deeply that the vacation was worth it, as there was no good place enough in Budapest to reaffirm his unwavering love for his sweetheart. Being a good swimmer at Budapest lakes and swimming pools, Olivia entered the water while holding on to the boat. She occasionally throws water at Elias, urging him to swim with her. However, he remained adamant about staying on the boat. A few minutes into this, Elias heard a scream and a sudden thug at the boat. He quickly rose to see his wife struggling to stay afloat. Elias dived into the water without thinking twice to check what was holding his wife's leg. When he discovers an enormous great white shark biting at both legs of his wife, he charges his blows at the shark's nose, believing it to be one of the beast's weak points. The aggressive white shark held on to Olivia, but had to release its grip when Elias didn't stop hitting its nose. Elias held Olivia and swam upward till their heads could be seen. He screamed for help, but the loud pops and reggae at the beach deprived anyone of hearing. They had to keep moving, so Elias held Olivia's hand as he swam towards the shore. Olivia couldn't guide herself to the shore because both legs were badly damaged during the struggle with the predator. After some meters left to reach the shallow part of the water, the shark attacked again and swallowed Olivia up to her arm. Just as Elias was about to react and reach out to grab the shark, it violently tore apart her body, leaving only her arm in Elias's clutches. He couldn't narrate how he reached the shore. He rushed back to Avila while holding on to his wife's arm. Seeing this, Avila hurriedly approached a lifeguard and talked about what transpired in the ocean's depths. Swift action was taken, and helicopters were deployed to search the area, but neither Olivia nor the shark could be seen. The search went on for days, but it remained fruitless. Elias waited for 3 days, hoping that at least his wife's remains would be found. Still, when the search yielded nothing, he canceled the vacation and traveled sadly back to Hungary, with his wife's arm neatly packed in ice beside him. When he returned home, he broke the sad news, and a befitting burial was given to the arm in place of Olivia. Elias accepted the situation and chose to face reality courageously, trying to find things that would bring comfort to his life. 3 professors were selected in California in 1923 to conduct research that involved exploring the length of the Pacific Ocean to a stipulated point. They were Hayden Oz, Russell Fry, and 30-year-old Angela Merkel, the only female and the youngest professor among them. They were to spend 5 days on the ocean exploring before returning and tendering their findings. The next day, the trio met at the port in Los Angeles and boarded the provided yacht with an assigned sailor named Ed. He was also a maritime scientist, but not yet a professor, so he could also provide a helping hand. Some hours into the journey, Hayden went onto the deck overlooking the vast water as the yacht glided gracefully, leaving out ripples. There he lit his pipe and began smoking. Minutes after, Russell went out to meet him with 2 bottles of gin. They called on Angela, but she turned down the offer. She went to the deck and looked into the clear sky. The sun radiated brilliantly in the vast clear blue sky, while white fluffy clouds lazily drifted along its expanse. She was assured that the ride would be memorable if the 2 drinkers could control themselves. Some hours later, Angela entered her cabin after dinner, hoping to continue her little astronomy the next day. However, the weather took a drastic turn the following day. From early morning it rained heavily, and the downpour intensifying as the night approached. Eventually, the terrifying storm struck the yacht, unleashing its fury. The professors were in their cabins when the storm happened, while the sailor left the steering to answer the call of nature. As the waves crashed against the yacht, Ed couldn't run toward the helm as everyone had lost balance. Everyone was awakened because of these loud noises, and Angela sighted icy water pouring through the side of her cabin. The boat capsized, and everyone was thrown upside down. During this keeling over, Russell's calf got slit by something metal, and blood started gushing out. But no one minded that, including the victim. They quickly jumped into the water while Ed pumped up an 8-foot-long dinghy, and the panicked crew climbed onto it. Hayden could have powered the dinghy, but the darkness deprived them of the opportunity of using their handheld compass. They waited fearfully for dawn, so they could sail back to safety. Immediately as the sky gave way to dawn's clear light, the dinghy was forcefully nudged forward, making everyone on board shake. Angela noticed that the dinghy was pushed by nothing other than a shark, and 3 huge sharks even surrounded them. Terrified, she screamed to alert the others of her discovery. With the sky clear and the shark knowing their prey, they ran toward them full force. Hayden wouldn't have time to check the compass to see whether the route was correct. He simply started the engine and propelled forward. Blood oozing from Russell's leg was a clear trail for the sharks, who relentlessly pursued their prey. With determination, they closed in and launched another attack upon catching up. After several hours of sailing on the endless waters, the engine's fuel ran out, and it stopped. One of the sharks running after the dinghy rammed into it, knocking it over. The sharks immediately went for Russell, who was inviting them with his wound, and they devoured him among themselves. His excruciating scream was only heard once, as the predator didn't give him a second chance. His screams were abruptly silenced as the jaws of a shark clamped tightly around him, tearing his head from his body. This incident sent shivers through Angela's body, and she went dazed into the water not until Hayden shook her and pulled her onto the reset dinghy. By the time all these struggles ended, it was very dark. The remaining crew members were overcome with exhaustion, dehydration, and an overwhelming sense of fear. With an uncertainty of what awaited them the following day, their emotions ran high, and a sense of trepidation gripped their hearts. By the 3rd day, the conditions of the survivors worsened. They seemed to have been on the wrong side of the ocean as no vessel was sighted. As hunger and thirst intensified, Hayden's desperation grew. In a moment of desperation, he decided to drink the seawater, hoping to alleviate his torment. As he bent down toward the water, he slipped and fell into it. It was as if a shark was lurking somewhere because it had clamped its teeth into his thigh within a bat of an eyelid. Although Ed and Angela watched the attack, They lost the energy to protect their compatriot. Hayden was so exhausted, but with fear of the same fate as Russell, a surge of adrenaline made him gather his energy into his arm and punch the shark in its gill. After that, he dug his hand into the gill and pulled at it with all his might. The shark released his prey and then went back into the abyss. The journey back to the dinghy wasn't easy, but Hayden still managed to go on, fearing his blood might attract many other sharks. Fortunately, a Monaco-bound cargo ship was spotted on the horizon. Ed and Angela waved frantically. Angela had to remove her red scarf and use it as a flag before they were sighted. Their desperation turned to joy when they were thrown life rings, and they swam toward them. The cargo vessel had to wait a few minutes before Hayden could catch up, and he was also rescued. A nurse on the ship administered to him before being transported to a hospital in Monaco. He could never forget the incident quickly, as over 50 bites were found on his thigh. The doctors worked tirelessly stitching the wounds. The U.S. government dispatched helicopters to the shark-infested area to locate the predators that had consumed Russell. However, the helicopters couldn't locate the specific sharks involved in the incident. After some weeks, the survivors returned to California, hoping to continue working. All of them were given a break from work to heal from the tragedy. Angela spent 15 months in therapy before recovering from the trauma of the incident. At the same time, Hayden went through a tough rehabilitation process to regain the use of his right leg. After all the tough months, they returned to work with a renewed hope of living through the gory incident. Demir Aydin was a 33-year-old Turkish abalone supplier in Istanbul. Because of the scarcity of abalone in Turkey, Demir had to always order from consignment in Japan, which cost him a huge amount of money. But he didn't mind since he would make a profit. However, two notable species of this sea creature, the black and white abalone, became extinct due to worldwide overfishing in 2003, so little was exported to Turkey. It became so scarce that business wasn't going well for Demir, so he started looking for options. Upon inquiring, Demir heard that the rare white and black abalone were still abundant in the ocean of South Africa. He even heard that the abalone has a larger size and a more distinct fragrance and flavor due to the pristine marine environment in the cold waters off the coast of South Africa. To change his import route, Demir, an avid diver and abalone specialist, went to South Africa to confirm the information before deciding what to do. On getting to Cape Town, Demir lodged at a hotel before linking up with a local abalone seller. Fortunately, the seller, Anav, was also a Turkish national living in Cape Town, so he had no difficulty with the language. Anav showed him several bowls of abalone, ready to be packed for export. He explained everything about their quality and treated him to a nice dish of the sea creature. However, Demir insisted that he go into the water and verify before sealing any contract. He prompted Anav to lead him straight to the beach, since he had just a week to spend in South Africa before flying back to Istanbul. So he had to verify himself, seal the contract, and check his first consignment in Cape Town before traveling back to receive them in Istanbul. However, Anav told him that he had to visit Turkish nationals in Cape Town for a general meeting, so he wouldn't be able to lead him that day, and even Demir had to rest from the tiring journey. After much persuasion, Demir followed Anav to meet the other Turkish at the bar beach on the city's east side. As they got closer to the beach, Demir asked Anav where they were going. Demir mentioned that he had left his swimming gear at his warehouse because Anav had told him that they were meeting people from their town. Anav later replied that they were going to the right destination. The Turkish nationals in Cape Town organized beach soccer, and he wanted Demir to participate. Demir wanted to excuse himself, but Anav remained adamant. He even said this water area had no abalone if he tries to look for one, so Demir had no choice but to join the annual event. He teamed up with Anav and 3 other Turks. The stipulated time for each game was 10 minutes, which would result in a penalty after a draw in normal time. So they defeated several teams till they reached the quarterfinal. After their defeat, Demir and his new colleagues reclined on a chair to discuss issues in their home country. After several hours, the match ended. Anav dropped Demir at his hotel with the promise of accompanying him to the Abalone beach the next day. On getting to the beach, he first went to a seafood restaurant and had a plate of abalone to taste. He enjoyed the taste of the South African abalone and was certain that people would love it back home. After that, he changed into his diving gear and dived in. Anav had a distress call, so he left the beach to attend. Minutes into the water, Demir swam near a reef looking out for those abalones when a huge bull shark swam up to him. And in an instant, he was swallowed from the head down to his chest. The shark was trying to eat him alive. Within the twinkling of an eye, Demir had found himself inside the jaw of a 10-foot-long shark as its piercing teeth sunk into his flesh. This enormous predator tried to swallow him whole, pressing its jaw over his head and chest, fortunately protected by his diving gear. When Demir opened his eyes inside the shark's jaw, it was very dark, and he couldn't see anything because he was looking back at his throat. One thing that came to his mind was survival, which gave him new hope. After the shark took its first bite, which was less severe due to the protection of the swimming gear, it attempted to bite Demir again before vigorously shaking him. Demir felt the immense horizontal shaking, and it was really hard that he thought it would be the end. Fortunately, his fighting instinct kicked in at this point, and he unthinkingly groped around using his hand. In a desperate situation, Demir discovers an eye socket and forcefully digs his thumb into it, using all of his strength. The shark felt the pain and quickly released its captive. Demir used this opportunity to swim out of the shark's mouth and propel himself upward, swimming fast towards the shore, with blood seeping out of his injuries. While swimming ashore, Demir looked back and saw the shark following the blood trail and speeding toward him. He gathered the remaining ounce of energy in him and plunged towards the shore. Luckily for him, he reached the shallow part when the shark caught up to him, and it clamped onto the diving fin. Demir yelled to the tourist on the beach, who came to his rescue. They quickly removed the diving fin from his gear and carried him to the sandy beach. Demir was one of the few people on Earth who could say they survived being in the jaws of a great white shark. Although his bites were minimal, he had lost so much blood, which can lead to organ failure. So paramedics quickly took him to the hospital in the city, where doctors attended to the bites on his face and chest. He was able to walk out of the hospital after 3 days. He went on to seal his export contract with Anav and then flew back to Istanbul. He had learned an unforgettable lesson. With the bite marks showing gracefully on his face, he would have to keep narrating the story to whoever cared to